Okay, hello. In this video, you will see information about cuts that the idiot felon is planning on making. The video talks about how poor people will be affected. Well, it's not going to be limited to only poor people. There is talk about eliminating federal programs that will result in the firing of millions of civilians that the federal government currently employs. People that, quite honestly, are far from poor. One point that I want to make clear: the idiot could not cause the damage he is about to inflict upon us without those that did something stupid. They voted for him. Yes, there is a cause and effect relationship, and folks need to be able to learn from that. Remember, we have to learn as we grow. It is such a damn shame that our process is so corrupt. And it begins at the voting level because emotion so strongly guides so many voters in the direction that they want to go. The decision is often based on personal biases. There are many that don't or cannot see the big picture. For example, there was a woman that told me she voted for Trump because she's religious. And that's fine, okay, she can be religious. Now, we did not get into any discussion on anything. I simply decided in my mind that she was religious, but she's also stupid in that area. Now, in this presentation, you will see video about how the idiot felon is preparing to cut money from various federal programs. Programs that I believe many people will suddenly find out that they or someone in their family benefits from. Additionally, the federal government employs approximately 2.3 million civilians across the country. That's almost 2% of the total workforce, with over 70% of those being out of the Washington, D.C. area. So millions of people will lose their jobs or careers because of the idiot felon. Removing a quote-unquote program is not like deleting an app from your phone or computer. Millions of civilians are employed by our federal government, and they will be affected. So cutting those programs equates to firing millions of federal civilian employees that are getting paid to work on or for those programs. So we're looking at an increase of millions of suddenly unemployed people applying for assistance. Kind of a double whammy. You're taking millions of people who are earning a comfortable living and believe that they have some sense of security, and at the same time suddenly firing them. And they're going to end up asking for assistance. This very same type of assistance that the idiot's says he's trying to eliminate. So it's a double whammy in that regard. Also, the idiot's policies of adding tariffs to imports will increase the prices that we consumers and our domestic companies pay for goods and services. Additionally, there are small business owners that conduct business with our government, and they will also be severely hurt by the aforementioned program reductions. Please watch the rest of this video.
Low-income Trump voters are now panicking, realizing, wait a second, this prick's going to slash my benefits. That's right, here we go again. We've got a story that is becoming all too familiar. It's a classic case of Trump voters realizing they may have been sold a bill of goods, and this time it's happening before Donald Trump is even sworn in. There's a very good piece in the Washington Post by Tim Craig called "After Backing Trump, Low-Income Voters Hope He Doesn't Slash Their Benefits." Voters in the struggling Pennsylvania city of Newcastle backed Trump, hoping he'd curb inflation, but the incoming president will be under pressure to cut spending. So a bunch of examples in this article. Lori Mazura is one such example, a single mom from Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Lives on $1,200 a month from Social Security plus food stamps. Her situation is so dire, she bikes to the grocery store because she doesn't have the money to fix her truck. She voted for Trump. And she voted for Trump because she thought he would be a champion for working class Americans. She said, I think he knows it's the poor people that got him elected, so I think Trump is going to do more to help us. Now, we all know that this isn't true, right? Trump's new team, Elon Musk, Vivek, they want to cut $2.5 trillion from the federal budget. You can't do that, really, without cutting from food stamps, Medicaid, the very lifelines that folks like Lori depend on. Lori isn't alone. They interviewed other people from Newcastle. Newcastle is one of these kind of prototypical struggling industrial hubs. It flipped for Trump this election. It's the first time the city voted Republican in nearly 70 years. And a lot of it is because low-income voters who are struggling and have been struggling for a long time under Biden, previously under Trump, they want a change. They want relief. And so Trump says, well, I'll cut inflation and this and that. They said, sounds good to me. Now, there's a couple things that I think are important to talk about here. Of course, it's easy to say these people are just ignorant. Anyone who understands tariffs knows you can't put blanket tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada and expect prices to go down. They are stupid. They deserve now what they voted for. Sure. I mean, you could take that perspective morally, I guess, right? If only they had economic education, they would know when you just put an import tax on everything, which is what a tariff is, prices rarely go down. When you cut taxes for the rich, which Donald Trump wants and plans to do, that's not going to make it so that prices come down for the average person. Fine, it's fine to say that. They should be more informed, and if they were, maybe they wouldn't have fallen for it. But that doesn't change the fact that when these folks struggle, which they will continue to do under the Trump administration, it's bad for everybody, right? Like, even if you say, I don't care about these individual people, if a large swath of the population is struggling in these ways thanks to Trump's policies, it's bad for everybody, regardless of your financial position, if you understand demand side economics. And of course, part of the reason that the article points out now all of these folks are worried is that they're seeing the red flags. They see Trump's budget picks being connected to Project 2025, which straight up says we've got to gut food stamps and other social programs. Even though Trump says, no, we're not going to touch Social Security, we know that his advisors are saying, can we cut Medicaid? Can we cut Social Security? Nothing is sacrosanct. Nothing is off the table. So look at Newcastle, because in a way, it's a great example of what we're dealing with here. 1 in 4 people in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, live in poverty. 90% of the school kids qualify for free lunch. The federal benefits are what's keeping this community afloat. So if Trump cuts those, which he would love to do, this community is absolutely decimated. And yet there are lots of people who are saying, oh, Trump, they quote a woman, Kathy Davis, Trump has so much common sense. Right, but his common sense is pointing him to want to cut the programs you depend on. This is not a surprise. Trump's first term was filled with moves that hurt working class voters, tax cuts for the rich, trying to repeal Obama.
And remember, Trump lies a lot. He likes to get his face in front of the video screen, and he likes to run his mouth and babble, and he tells lots and lots of lies.
Care policies that don't address stagnant wages, but we are finding ourselves here again, watching people who need government programs. Their lifeline is government programs. And they say, I'm throwing my support behind the guy who is setting things up to cut them. And he's bringing in a cabinet and a set of advisors that's going to cut all of this stuff. And the sad part, as one local Democrat put it, is that the voters didn't look at the big picture, which is that when the promised cuts roll in, they are going to start paying the price. So the practical sort of political question that's left is...
That's a good point. They didn't look at the big picture. And I said that earlier in my introduction to this video, that there's a lot of people that cannot or will not look at the big picture. They just focus on this one little aspect, this one little point, and they look at their personal feelings on one aspect, and that's it. They don't think logically. Additionally, the cuts, like I said, the cuts that he wants to make in the federal program is not just like deleting an app from your phone and that's it. When you cut a federal program, you're reducing a program. The federal government employs millions and millions of people all across the country. Once you reduce those programs, you're firing millions of people. The federal government is a huge employer in our country, so he's boosting unemployment. And those people that are now suddenly unemployed, they were in a job that used to be comfortable. They were not poor. Now suddenly they're poor and they're very uncomfortable. They're going to turn around and start applying for those programs. Wham, bam, thank you, Trump.
How many times does this cycle have to repeat itself before they realize Trump's promises are only promises meant to get elected and then do nothing else? How long will it take?
He's exactly right. Trump doesn't give a shit about people. He says whatever he needs to say to get elected. And that's it.
Until voters start regretting their decision, maybe again. And unfortunately, listen, Trump's term limited out. They didn't learn it the first time. Biden came in with a different set of economic policies, and it didn't generate enough enthusiasm for Biden and ultimately Kamala Harris to prevent Trump from coming back in. They fell for the same talking points from Trump once again, talking points that are just fluff, stuff Trump either doesn't understand or doesn't intend to do. And based on the history, the regrets creeping in, but will it really do something about them saying, well, this is a party that we really shouldn't vote for at all. We shouldn't fall for it again. Historically, they don't learn like that. And they end up putting right back in power the very sorts of agendas that created this problem for them in the first place.
Okay, now, again, I hope I'm wrong, but the pain and suffering that Trump is about to inflict on this country, our life as we know is about to change in this country for everybody, rich, poor, or indifferent, for every single body. Maybe not the rich, but for the vast majority of millions of people across the country, life as we know it is going to change. Thank you for watching.